Welcome back, my beautiful humans, to another episode of If I Die Tomorrow. You know the drill, the podcast where we ask some hard questions and we just try to live a better, more fulfilling life today, in case it is our last. I'm your host, Nicole, and today we're going to dive into a concept that might be a little old-fashioned, but it's absolutely essential for a life well lived. I'm talking about faithfulness. Now, before you tune out because you think this is some sermon, hear me out. Faithfulness isn't just about romantic relationships or religious views or vows for that matter. It's about showing up consistently and with commitment for the things that matter most in your life. It's about being faithful to your dreams, to your values, to your friends, and to yourself. And in a world of endless options and instant gratification, this kind of commitment is actually a superpower. It's a quiet, radical act that builds the foundation for a truly fulfilling life. So let's talk about how we can harness the ancient virtue for modern living. Let's look at the flip side first. You know, I always do this. What does a life without faithfulness look like? It's a life of constantly starting and stopping. Yeah, because I always find that fun. You know, I complain about whiplash from, like people's moods or what have you. I think living a life without faithfulness is almost the same thing. It's just not very fun. But you start a new diet, you get a new hobby, you promise to call your parents more often, and then we abandon it a week later, sometimes not even a week, sometimes 2 hours, if we're going to be honest. We're easily swayed by the next shiny object, the next trend, the next person who, well, seems more interesting. The lack of commitment creates a life that feels shallow and unfulfilling. And you can be mad at me for saying it, but it's the truth if you honestly ask yourself and took a second and stepped back. You never get to experience the deep rewards that come from seeing something through. You don't build the lasting relationships that will weather almost any storm. I say almost any storm because there are some things, but we won't go there. You don't develop the deep skills that come from sticking with a craft. It's like trying to grow a garden, but you're constantly pulling up the little seedlings to see if they've taken any root. You're always in a state of potential, but you never get to the point of actually bearing the fruit. Watching your labor turn into something. You're denying yourself that experience and that fulfillment. This lack of commitment creates a life, as I said, that feels shallow and unfulfilling. This is also a life of frustration and of feeling like you're always on the brink of something great, but never quite getting there. If we're going to take the power of faithfulness, why not use it to build a life of meaning? As we talk about the radical power of faithfulness, it's about choosing to be a person of your word, not just to others, but to yourself. We need to show up for ourselves just as much as we need to show up for the people in our lives that we love. In a world that constantly bombards us with different ideals, being faithful to your core values provides you with an anchor. If you value, kindness, faithfulness means that you choose to be kind even when it's inconvenient. If you value honesty, you tell the truth even when it's hard. This consistency builds self-trust and integrity. Now, if we take faithfulness and we bring it to our goals, this is where the magic happens. Every successful person isn't just talented. They are relentlessly faithful to their craft, to their goals, to their purpose. They show up day after day, even when they don't feel like it. I mean, you've probably done that. And what you're demonstrating to yourself, even if you haven't thought of it this way, is faithfulness. There's the writer who, even if they have to sit in front of their computer for days to come up with words, or the musician who practices for hours, the entrepreneur who keeps going after a setback or a no. This isn't just willpower. This is faithfulness to a dream. It's about trusting the process and believing that small, consistent actions will lead to great things. And I want great things for you. And of course, how could I not talk about it? But let's talk about faithfulness in relationships. True, lasting connection isn't built on a single grand gesture. And we all know that. I mean, yes, that grand gesture is beautiful and fun for the time that it's happening. But it is the small, everyday little things that show meaning and build your faithfulness. It's remembering a birthday, showing up for a friend in need, listening without judgment. Yes, I know sometimes that's very hard. And we say we're not judging. Our face might say something else. But our true friends that we have been faithful to know here. But it's also about being able to stick things out instead of throwing your hands up in the air and walking away. It's about choosing to forgive and choosing to be present. These faithful actions build the deep bonds that make life rich and meaningful. And of course, I'm going to do a call of action. Why wouldn't I? But let's start small and be faithful. Start with something small. Choose one thing and be faithful to it for a week. Just 1 week. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. I'm asking for 1 week of seeing something through. Maybe it's just a 5-minute meditation in the morning. You need to do it every morning, 5 minutes. And actually, if you break that down, that's not very much time. 7 days, 5 minutes, 35 minutes total out of your day. But you did it every single day because you were faithful to yourself. Maybe it's not the meditation. Maybe it is drinking a glass of water before every meal. Maybe it's a commitment to call one friend you've been meaning to catch up on or catch up with. should say. The specific action really actually doesn't matter as much as the act of being faithful to it does. And this is how we're going to cultivate our superpower of faithfulness. After you've done this, I'd love for you to notice how it feels to keep your word to yourself. Notice the small sense of pride, the building of momentum, and the growing of self-trust. This is what it means to be faithful. If I die tomorrow, I don't want to live a life of unfulfilled potential, constantly pulled in a million different directions with no sense of accomplishment. I want to live a life rooted in my values, committed to my goals, and rich with faithful relationships. As always, I would love if you, like, follow, subscribe, do all the fun things, hit the buttons, that kind of stuff. You can follow me on Instagram or on TikTok, as well as I have this Spotify, Amazon Music, because not everybody likes to watch a video. If you are listening to me on Amazon or Spotify, thank you. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your faithfulness and sticking with me. And as always, be kind, be grateful, stay humble. Till next time.